Hello and welcome back to Basement Backgammon. This is the third video in our series, and in this video we are going to be featuring a travel board made by HIT Industries out of Avenel, New Jersey. This is their logo, or this is one of their logos that they used. This board was probably created in the 1970s when a lot of these backgammon boards were created. A lot of HIT boards were created. And HIT has a couple of very special features that they used to do, including stitching on their outer paneling. That was one of the things that HIT did. I have a few HIT boards, and a few of them do feature stitching on the outer paneling. And as you can see, this is a probably a pleather surface with a pleather panel that is on both sides of it, you can see, and it's got features this deep stitching on the paneling to give it a little extra protection. It features a nice little handle here with some brass hardware for the handle and open clasps, very similar to the crystalloid board I featured in video number 1, except that these are a bit smaller because this is a smaller case. The checkers inside of this case are 1 1/4. Very often, when people are talking about backgammon boards, they will often talk about the board in terms of the size of its checkers. So they'll say it's a 1 1/4 board, or a 1 1/2 board, or 1 3/4 board, or a 2-inch board, and they're not talking about any of the dimensions of the case, which can vary, but they're really talking about just the dimensions of the checkers. The checkers on most backgammon boards come in just a few basic sizes. And there are some small variations in between, but in general, checkers range in size from 0.75 inches for very, very small travel boards. Some 1-inch checkers I've seen, but mostly 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4 are the most common, and then 2-inch and 3/4 inch are much rarer, and 1 inch as well. This is just shorthand to give you sort of an idea of the dimensions of the board. Too large of a board can't fit too small of checkers. So the checkers are sized to the board. Anyway, let's take a look at this and see what it looks like inside. It's got a very orange look, this whole board. In fact, I call this board Tropicana for exactly the fact that it's got a very orange look to it. It has square dice cups, which were relatively common in some of the cheaper boards. This would be considered a cheaper travel board from the 70s. And it's lined in fabric, like a plushy sort of fabric that just, to me, screams 1970s. This sort of orange velvet material. There's no trip lip inside, and it's not cork lined either. It's paper or cardboard inside, but they're relatively rigid, but not super rigid. I couldn't press down on this too hard, but you can see there's a little bit of movement in there because it's made of cardboard. Let's move those over to the side. Comes with the original booklet of instructions, and it shows you their address, 22C Craigwood Road in Avenel, New Jersey, where HIT used to be. And the book comes in multiple languages, so it comes in French, and it comes in English on the other side. There you go. So these precision dice were not original to the board. And I'm not 100% sure if this cube was original to the board. I may have replaced the cube, but it does look like it could be the original, and certainly would be the right size. So this would be a 3/4 inch cube, Bakelite cube. Or Catalan cube, and this would be the right size, but the dice are not original. I added these dice to the board. Let's take those off. The checkers are original, and we've got 2 colors. We've got the blonde, yellow butterscotch, whatever you want to call it, and the brown speckled ones. You can see these are quite nice examples of 1 1/4 inch checkers, and I'll set it up here so you can see what it looks like. The field is a similar pleather to the outside. It's I mean, you can call it leather as shorthand, but I'm certainly sure this is not real leather. And these are printed, these points here, with a solid triangle and just an outline of a triangle. So it's a nice pattern, but a little shocking to the eye because of the orange of the whole thing. Very 1970s. I can imagine taking this out in someone's den and firing up a hookah and having a good time. Let's see what these look like here. All right, so this is a nice travel board because it's fairly sturdy. It definitely grabs attention. I brought this board to Mexico when I went to Mexico last year with my wife, and we played a few games by the pool, and it definitely caught people's attention. The other thing this board features is just like Chris Lloyd did in the 1970s, you can see that there is a wrap over the bar area. And I am not a fan of the wrap on the bar area because it does tend to bunch up and the checkers tend to slide off like that. However, the bar is also a little thin. You can see that it doesn't quite fit the checker. It's slightly too small, but if this material wasn't here, it would stay on the bar a lot better. Not too bad for the cube, though. The other thing I don't like about this board is that when the clasps are open, like this, as you can see, the board does not lay flat. So the whole thing tilts a little bit. Let's see if you can see that. It's hard to see, but it does tilt a little bit because the board isn't laying flat. The clasps in the way. So if you put the clasps halfway, the whole thing now lays flat and you can play with it. But this is a bit of an annoyance. And that's just because the frame is thin. It's not very high, not very deep. So the clasps will prop up the board if they're open all the way. Anyway, interesting board. I kind of like it. HIT has a wide variety of extremely cheap boards and slightly more upgraded boards like this one. But for a travel board, this works out pretty well. Anyway, this is an interesting part of my collection I thought I'd share with you. Take care.